Ian Westmoreland, Tom Hitchcock, how are you?
G'day, Tom. I'm really good, thank you.
Yeah, good to hear. Order of His Majesty now as well. Some strong letters after your name.
I used to think it was Old Angry Man, but no, it's. I thought it was a scam, but a couple of different organisations or charities I set up had nominated me, and I was fortunate enough to actually receive the award. My wife thought it was fantastic. We went to New South Wales Parliament Government House,
Yep.
met the governor, and it was a great day out.
Yeah, how long ago was that?
About 18 months ago. And we're looking at this. I've never been there before. It looks out over Sydney Harbour. There's these beautiful gardens. And my wife asked her if she looked after the gardens herself, which, the governor did share that her grandkids play in the fountain in the middle of the gardens there. So it was a great experience. I think really important for my wife. We'll find out later on. I put a huge amount of time into what I do, and she feels a bit neglected, and just to get that recognition and her having the opportunity to be there was just fantastic.
That's good. So your wife was more into the what did you call it? You gave it a jovial name then?
Oh, the old angry man.
She was more into the old angry man than you were, yeah?
Well, I seldom get angry, but the old man, yes. In fact, the last 3 years I've sort of been reinforced to me. But
Lovely. Well, you've been recommended to me via a mutual friend, someone that we've also had on this podcast. We haven't released his episode just yet. I think it maybe goes out next week. It's a guy called Michael. He goes, you've got to get Ian on here. We've got to get him to share his story and what have you. So I don't know anything about you, Ian. Okay.
okay. Yeah.
So I'd love to hear firsthand.
Okay. So I've got different hats, I guess. One of the, most successful hats is that I'm married to my wife for 42 years. We have 4 kids, and we had our 13th grandchild 8 months ago. So that's a hat that I'm absolutely delighted and proud with. I've been a full-time volunteer for the last 12 years. My paid career was as an IT project manager in the utility space. On the 10th of September 2013, I got on the train to come to work in Sydney. I continued to read a book my youngest daughter had given me, and what I read that morning transformed the thinking. I used to say for the next stage of my life, but really it's the rest of my life. I quit paid work in May 2014, and in the 12-year journey, I felt led to start mentoring kids in schools, in Sydney high schools and primary schools, which I learned so much from. You learn so much from these young guys, and it was just a fantastic experience. It led me to start my first not-for-profit called Mentoring Men, which is a free program where we train up volunteer men like me to support other men going through life challenges. And after a slow start, it just boomed. Thousands of men engaged. At the end of 2021, I was starting to get burnt out. Whatever I do with a passion, hence why my wife struggles a bit with the amount of time I put into these things. But I had sufficient financial resources to put in place a paid team to do what I was doing. And that mentoring men still continues. After about 3 months, I decided to start my second and final not-for-profit, which is called Kintsugi Heroes. Now, have you heard the name Kintsugi before, Michael?
I believe that's the Japanese, the gold, the gold, when like a vase is broken, they build it back together. Am I right?
Spot on. I'd
Okay.
never heard of the name Kintsugi before, but when I told people what I want to do around the power of storytelling, someone said, call it Kintsugi. So Kintsugi, as you said, is that Japanese craft where they take broken pottery, they put it back together using a precious metal like gold, and the repaired product is far more beautiful, far more valuable than the original piece.
Mm.
And it just resonated. What a brilliant metaphor to reframe how we see those lived experiences. That addiction, that grief, that relationship breakdown, the abuse, the trauma, the disability. So what Kintsugi Heroes does, it said it's all based around storytelling. we record stories like this. I guess you do the same thing in a way. So we've done over 300 stories. Our very first one was around grief. But then we edit them when we publish them as video podcasts, audio podcasts. We edit them for radio broadcasts, so they were broadcast nationally on the Vision Australia radio network and other radio networks. We put the stories, some of the stories into books, and we run events, and we even produced a couple of short films. So that's what we do. I'm now back working 7 days a week again, doing what I love doing, and my wife is back being grumpy with the hours that I spend doing this. But the feedback I get from what I do, both from the members in the team, we've got a team of about 50 people, mostly volunteers, mostly with their own lived experience, which explains their passion to get involved and help out and do what I do, and that will do what Kintsugi Heroes does. So that's where it's at. I love the team that we've got. I love the impact that we're having on the community. And I've got some really big dreams with where I want this to go. Can I just share, the last 3 years I've been going through a cancer journey.
Okay.
So I got diagnosed with melanoma, which turned into stage 4 metastasized melanoma. So I've got 8 tumours in my brain. I've got some tumours in my left lung and tumours in other parts of the body. And it's been a 3-year journey through including surgery, heaps of immunotherapy, hospital visits, and a bunch of other stuff. And unexpectedly, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, the last scan showed that I was in remission. Which surprised. The last meeting I had with the oncologist, I said, he had the scans, the latest scans at that time. And I said to him, when should I book in to see you again? He said, Ian, there's nothing I can do for you in mainstream medicine. Your best hope is to go on a clinical trial. And as it turns out, I didn't qualify for any clinical trial. So it's been, I guess my own lived experience has been through that journey. And obviously there's a lot of people thought that we was going to die. And I thought about what does that mean for Kintsugi Heroes? Where do I want it to be? And I had these dreams. And one of the things we've lost is the ability to communicate. I grew up with the village concept where we knew the neighbours. We were poor. We never had a telephone, but Mrs. Ryan, 3 houses down, had a telephone. So if we wanted to make a call, we'd go, shows you how old I am, we'd go and leave sixpence, 5 cents for those listening, yeah, for you, the younger generation. Or she'd come up and say, there's a phone call for you. And we had that neighbourhood. We'd all go out and play. We've lost a lot of that. One of the biggest projects that we did with Kintsugi Heroes is connecting seniors to address loneliness and isolation.
Okay.
And one of the dreams I've got is to re-establish that village. Once a fortnight in the local community centre or the library, a group of people, maybe seniors, get together and share stories. The opportunity you're giving me now to share a bit of my story, but we probably with a facilitator. And that turn also provides like a peer support thing. There'd be a check-in. Tom, how you doing? And then around the table, is there anything going on in your life that you want to chat about? How good would that be if we re-establish that storytelling, that yarning, what our Indigenous cultures? Tom, I'm going to pause there because you asked me one question. I've just gone on for a long time, but yeah.
That's good. Actually, I'll probably do an introduction to you. Have you ever heard of a gentleman called Peter McKendry?
No.
I'll do an introduction to you. I'll do that offline if you like. He's doing something quite similar, similar agenda, and I think you'll be like 2 peas in a pod in some respects as well. But I do like the tackling loneliness, because that in itself is an epidemic and it's worsening. It's worsening for a variety of shifting societal norms. Okay, technology has a lot to explain for that, but the way you described how community was to how it is now, okay, is a big part of that as well.
Yeah. You'd be familiar, I guess, with the loneliness report, which is they produce annually, but it doesn't do anything to address loneliness. It just measures it. And one of the things that surprised me, I assumed that the biggest demographic would be the seniors, the lost a partner or whatever. Incredibly sad thing was that it was relatively even across all demographics. But the one that stood out, the biggest demographic of loneliness, was 18 to 24-year-olds. How sad is that? And at a time that we have social media and we have all these other things. And I've got my own views on what's causing this, and you shared some of those things before. But I remember seeing a cartoon, a time-lapse cartoon. When I was growing up, there's a mum by the front door, and there's a kid outside, and she's got him by the ear, and she's trying to drag him back in, and he's got a ball under his arm. And I related to this. Ian, you can go out and play, but when the street lights come on, you've got to come back inside. And I'd be out there playing with all the other guys in the neighbourhood. You get up to a bit of mischief, but you would be out there physically active, interacting with other people. That cartoon's now been updated to today. And the mum's by the front door, but this time the young guy's on the other side of the door. He's fatter. Mum's got him by the ear again, and he's holding on to his gaming console. And she's trying to drag him outside to play. And you think, I know gaming's huge, but part of the issue is around mental health and things like that. It's a physical exercise. We'd go out and play cricket or kick a footy or whatever. We'd be doing things outside. But we're moving away from that. Our diets change. I think there's a number of reasons why there's some increased mental health issues. But I think what I shared about my experience as a kid was far better at helping address loneliness and some of these other issues. I mean, there's lots of other improvements today, but yeah.
I think you're quite right, and I was only talking about this the other day where, so I remember if we went to an area as kids, okay, and we didn't know any other kids, we'd go and look around, walk up and down the street, see if some kids knocking a football against the wall, go and knock on the door, say, "Hi, I'm from number 26. Can whoever lives here come out to play?" You know, and that was it. And you go on holiday, you've got that social sort of ice breaking to do, because you need to go and find the kids, similar kids your age, that you can resonate with and you can make friends with for a short period of time, become pen pals or something like that afterwards. Nowadays, the kids on the street, they don't know the other kids in the street. Okay.
Yeah.
And then look at the only people they're connected to are the ones they're plugged into the game with, and they could be anywhere.
Yeah. I love that. A couple of comments. I used to walk to school. I think I don't ever remember being driven to school, but you'd walk to school.
Yeah.
And you'd meet kids along the way.
Yeah.
And but now the vast majority, like my grandkids, like often they get driven to school. So you're missing that opportunity for social interaction. One of the things that we've seen, we're doing a series around the critical role that animals can play in improving our mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that we've seen, say, for the seniors thing, the role that companion animals play in old people's homes or even in hospitals. And one of the great things around this increased adoption of pets and things like that, you'll see people walking past each other and they won't say anything. They won't even, sometimes it's terrible, we don't even look at other people. But when there's a pet involved, there's a pet coming this way and a pet coming the other way, the pets will stop it, the dogs will stop and sniff each other. And then immediately the conversations start. And then maybe if everyone had a pet dog and they took for a walk, we'd help address the loneliness thing. But that's one of the positives, Lucy.
And I think you're right that there's actually a lot we can learn from pets and just that sort of like that animal instinct of connection and preventing that detachment of a stranger isn't a stranger, they're just a friend you haven't met yet.
Yeah. It's we go look at a restaurant now, and I'm guilty of doing this. The phones come out, and it's My wife gets grumpy, but I mean, obviously someone's messaged me as to do with Kintsugi Heroes. Anyway, we went for a walk today. We're at the beautiful place called Port Stephens at the moment. We went for a walk and I took a couple of Kintsugi Heroes calls while I'm on the thing. But we've got this thing that interferes with our life. I've been guilty. You watch TV, ad comes on, I'll grab my phone while the ad's on, and it's just, we're losing uh, um, that ability to be present, that mindfulness of where we are and what we're doing.
So here's something I've talked about this a few times. You mentioned mindfulness there, and that's a really key word because this is something that we're being taught now. You go away, you can do a workshop, you can get a mentor to teach you mindfulness, in meditation, teach you yoga, wherever it goes, it's mindfulness. I know when I was growing up, mindfulness was innate. It happened anyway. So
Yeah.
we didn't have the mobile phone. If I'm sitting down waiting for a mate who said he'd meet me at 4 o'clock and they're not there at 4 o'clock, I'll sit there and wait till 20 past, whatever it is, whenever they turn up. I have faith that they will turn up and honour the agreement. But for that 15, 20 minutes, I have no phone.
Yeah.
So we practice mindfulness because we just drift off on our own thoughts. We're in Planet Tom doing whatever I'm doing, maybe winning the World Cup for West Ham United, but that isn't even the right term to be England, but Champions League, West Ham or whatever. And my mind be completely elsewhere, and then they come in and I'm back into the present. So we had mindfulness as part of our day-to-day constantly until we outsourced it to these.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we don't have that. We need to be trained to do something we did naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how we fix this. I guess it's just discipline. Um, I was mentoring, so I did years of mentoring a number of schools in Sydney. And one day, one of the other mentors ran a session on mindfulness, and they got a mandarin, and all the kids, all the mentees, the guys being mentored had a mandarin, and all the mentors had a mandarin. Now look at it. What color is it? And you smell it, and then can we just eat it? Because instant gratification. No, then you take it, peel a little bit off. Now smell it again, and you get the things that you weren't normally aware of. Now, and then we went through this slow process. Now peel off one of we call them pasties. Put it in your mouth, but don't swallow it. No, just take the feel and then have a bite into it. And it's often, because I'm so engaged in what I do, there's food here, and I just keep chucking this food in while I'm working away on my laptop. There's a total lack of mindfulness, and I'd love to fix it. I'd love to have the discipline to fix it.
They call it, I was talking about, yes, again, you keep picking topics I've been talking about recently, and you can come back again. You're making it easy for me. Listen, we live most of our life on autopilot. You know, when we drive places, we know we arrive at our destination without any thought. Oh, I turned left without thinking, went round a roundabout without thinking. I just did what I did, which is why our years get shorter and shorter, and because we're very familiar with what we do. We don't think. We live weeks on repeat, months on repeat, years on repeat, and the skill sets to maintain because we know what we're good at, we know what we're bad at. We avoid the things we're bad at, and we lean into what we're good at, which tends to be our passions and things that we enjoy for that reason. But if we were to snap out of that, it's called deliberate practice. Okay. And it's the old stuff. We come out your comfort zone, bringing something new into your world, and it slows things down. You're going somewhere new, it always seems further away than it actually is because you haven't done that journey before. You do it, you're not great at public speaking, you go to do it, it's uncomfortable, you're nervous, and it feels like it went on forever because you're having to put something into it and become uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know? And deliberate practice, if you can identify as many of those things as possible, you then start to enter those realms of coming away from autonomy.
I get it. I think that taking that leap of faith or that first move, I remember the first time I was interviewed live on community radio, and maybe 5 people listen to community radio, but I was absolutely petrified. And I asked them, "What questions are you going to ask me?" And I wrote down the questions. I wrote out all my answers, and I finally turned up for the interview, and they asked me the first question. I read out my answer. Then they asked me a question that wasn't on the on the list that I rehearsed. And I said, well, that's a great question. If you had asked me this, this is what I would have said. So then fast forward, I was interviewed live on TV and I was petrified again. And anyway, but now as you do those things, you go past that barrier, it becomes more comfortable, it becomes more second nature. Tom, just this conversation with you, the level of anxiety is way down on what it would have been before. And I just find I'm actually enjoying the experience of just having this conversation. It's I'm practicing mindfulness. I'm listening to what you're saying. And yeah, I agree with you. I think we need to take some more, risk sounds too negative, but just to step outside our comfort zone sometimes and would be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think so too, and it's just what happens is our body. It's our ego is what does it. It protects us and it puts us into a position where we use less energy. We do less energy when we do things without thinking. We
Uh-huh.
brush our teeth, we don't think. We walk. When was the last time you thought about how you walk? Left foot, right foot. We just do it because we
Yep.
can do it without thinking. It uses very, very minimal energy. Yeah. Okay. But the moment we do something new, we need to put our energy consumption goes up.
Yeah.
It's tiring, it exhausts us, it's
Yeah.
challenging, you know?
Well, I did an NLP course once, which highlighted like there's conscious things that we're aware of, and it could be thinking about the way we walk and stuff like that. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff, breathing, how our body regulates the temperature, hair stand up, or we get the shivers, or whatever. There's all these other things that are happening automatically we're not even aware of. A lot of the communication going on between us at the moment, it's not the words, it's the facial expression. I keep moving my hands around. It's you just nodding then and smiling. What a great smile, by the way. But
Thank you.
it's it's those it's those things. So yeah, I've seen the power of vulnerability um, in the corporate space. I was a fairly senior IT manager, and many people put on a facade, particularly men. And I saw through the mentoring men, we ran this mentoring facilitation workshop. And I remember it was run over 2 days. And on the second day, we had this talking circle. Now, I didn't develop the workshop, this expert did. And I thought, this is going to really suck. And I read the instructions for the talking circle was there's an object, say my cup, that's passed around the table. You have the choice. You share what you're feeling, what emotions, what's happening for you personally. If you don't want to share, you can just say pass and you send to the next bloke. No one interrupts. No one comments. You're not looking for advice. You just share what's going on. And I thought, if this started with me, it would have been a huge issue. Even though I'd set up the charity, I didn't want to share what was going on. The first guy, this has happened in 2018, November. I missed my dad. And he started talking about his dad passing away. Next, I can't get access to my kids. My mum gambled away a house. And when you start to see the power of that vulnerability, and I guess that listening to each other and not interrupting, it's unbelievably powerful and liberating when you can share that vulnerability with people that you could trust. It's confidential. And I'd love if we get further back into that, remove the facade. If more senior managers, you only need to look at the leadership in America around the lack of vulnerability and that it's I don't want to get political, but it's a huge weakness. And in the organizations I've set up Mentoring Men and Kintsugi Heroes, I'm surrounded by people incredibly passionate, but have no hesitation saying, Ian, there's a better way to do this or whatever. Really effective surrounding yourself with people who will tell you what they genuinely think without fear of reprisals and things like that. So, yeah.
So I'm going to interject there, and I'm going to I'm going to mention briefly. We spoke very briefly offline. It was very briefly beforehand, where we didn't know each other, and you volunteered to share some of your story beforehand. And do you remember what I did?
You told me stop it.
Oh, well, it
If you
said
share
stop when I
anything,
did that.
you did that, and you said, Ian, if you share anything before the podcast, we'll terminate the podcast then. So we did that. We talked briefly about one thing that you said to mention.
And that was it. And the whole premise behind it is exactly what you were talking about just then. Okay, so you got sincerity and authenticity. Okay, we have to have that. People's a skill set that has risen is their radar for BS.
Yeah,
People know when they're being sold to. They know when something's scripted. They know this stuff. They can hear it, see it, sense it a mile away. So we got good at that. We may have been lacking in other areas. We're good at that, and we don't like it. No one likes being sold to. We all love to buy, but no one likes being sold to. And if there's an element, it's the dink there. That 1% of doubt ruins the 99%. So that authenticity and sincerity is
yeah,
pivotal to this working for me. But coming with that as another layer, it puts an air of vulnerability there. So if this was your first podcast, for example, you'd have been nervous, a lot more nervous.
yeah,
Okay. And I probably would have fueled that vulnerability a little bit by not giving you that extra comfort at the beginning. But that vulnerability is where you display sincerity.
yeah,
And we
absolutely.
see that slightly unmasked version of Ian, and whoever it is that's there. And so we've got that by design. But the reason I bring that up, and I tend not to bring anything like that up because we're not recording that time, is it reinforces your point to exactly what you're talking about and what's important and where value is. If you want to grow and you want to connect, you have to get past the superficial. You have to get past layer 1 and layer 2.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how to encourage that. Maybe just having conversations like this, maybe through podcasts. People often think no one else feels the way they feel. But when you have someone actually shares that, and then, wow, okay, yeah, so I'm not on my own within this. And, a lot of what we do helps improve mental health situation. We're doing a series around reducing DV. We're having people come up and share stories around that. And I feel when someone else hears the story of someone and they relate to that story, they relate to that lived experience, and that other person got through that. An example, when I got the melanoma diagnosis, I was on a couple of podcasts with people who had stage 4 metastasized melanoma, far worse than me. When you've got cancer, they do these things called PET scans, and in my case, I had also had brain scans. When they show a PET scan, cancer shows up as these bright spots like stars throughout your body. And this amazing woman I met in Sydney, Anne Gately, held up on a phone her PET scan, and it was lit up like a Christmas tree. So cancer was right throughout her body. She went through this immunotherapy thing. She's in full remission. She goes around speaking, and she's trying to educate the world around effective using sunscreen and hats and all that sort of stuff. Should be treated like an OH&S thing, sort of view. That's like a Kintsugi thing. She's used that lived experience to try and help others. But having met her and a number of other people in that scenario has given me the confidence that I get through this. Now, in my case, the drugs that fix the immunotherapy that's helped these people didn't really work with me. There's been some other unexplained reason, and maybe it's my mental attitude, maybe it's some other things that I'm taking or whatever that's caused this unexpected remission. But yeah, Tom, I think I got off the off the track there, but I want to say the power of stories can help build confidence. The people, no matter what their challenge is, can get through the challenge.
And that's it. It's that collective consciousness. It's the connection. It's the sharing. There is value to that. That's why mediums like this have subscribers. Because people listen to one, they want to listen to 10.
Yeah.
you know. All right. So we do know there is one agenda. So I've kind of broken my rule a little bit this, but I think we could be forgiven in this case because I know what's coming, and I think it's a brilliant idea. And anybody listening to this or watching this, depends what platform they're on, um, um, I highly recommend getting involved, asking around, see who can get amongst it, because the initiative itself is brilliant and it deserves more attention, which is why we're here. Okay. And this is what you're doing with Michael, which is another reason why that segue came in. So yeah, without further ado, do you want to bring that up?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, one of our, uh, I guess our biggest projects has been connecting seniors to help address loneliness and isolation. And we've captured a number of stories like this. We've actually produced a couple of books. Anyone can, all our stuff is free, so they can download the podcasts around the connecting seniors. Just go to Kintsugi Heroes website. They can download books and things like that. So we're partnering with Complete Health this year, and we're promoting a free seniors talent quest. So, and I'm tempted to go in. Talking about vulnerability, I've always thought maybe I could be a stand-up comedian, and I don't know if I'm deluding myself. Some of my friends think I'm funny, GSOH or whatever it is, but anyway, there's a fear there, to be honest. But I think if the material's funny enough. So I've got a couple of jokes. Happy to share one if you want. But anyway, it's a seniors talent contest. It's free. There's some great prizes. It's being held at the Annandale Community Centre on Saturday, the 4th of April, from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. So any senior can enter. So it could be art, it could be singing, it could be stand-up comedians, anything along those lines. If you've got even if you haven't got a good talent, if you just want to have a bit of fun and join in, then I'd encourage anyone to go onto the Complete Health site or check it out, and I'll be there. Not sure what I'll be doing yet. Maybe fear will take over, so I'm not sure. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this. I think we need some more people to be involved with. There's lots of talent, there's lots of reasons for people maybe to come out of their comfort zone, or just showcase the skills they're very comfortable with. You know, it is the second one. So the first one went well. We want the second one to go better. And then we've officially got momentum for the third, fourth, and onwards. And I think as an initiative, I think it's a brilliant thing to get behind. If you can't attend, so be it. If you're not in the right age category to attend, have a think about who you know.
Yeah.
Have a think about who you know, haven't been in contact with, have an outreach. Actually, you know what? Remember when you used to play in a band when you were younger? How would you like to do it again? You know,
Yeah.
and reach out and get people involved. And I haven't heard from you for ages. I should be connecting anyway, but there's also a reason for it as well, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And a lot of people, yeah, you're right, sang early on and played musical instruments. We encouraged our kids to get into that, and then it sort of drops away when they have their own family. But maybe there's some gold out there that, yeah, people have never had the opportunity, and yeah, they could get discovered. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's, as we wrap up then, I'm not going to let you get off the hook without telling us your joke. I will pre-warn you, I'm a tough audience. So if you get a wry smile out of me, then you're doing well.
Well, I've got a couple of jokes, but anyway, I'll just tell one. So this mum's trying to get her son to eat broccoli, and she tries everything that she can, and he responds, "I hate it. It smells really bad, and I'm not going to eat it." And after this battle goes on for a few minutes, he just gives up. The dad goes over, whispers something in the son's ear, immediately starts eating the broccoli, and then he asks for more, and he eats that as well. Then he takes off. And the mum says, "What did you say to him?" And he said, "Look, I told him that if he eats broccoli, his penis will grow longer." And the mum goes, whack, slaps him across the face. And he said, "What's that for?" And she said, "For not eating your broccoli when you were young." That's more than a
Yeah.
wry smile.
There we are. We've got it. We've got it. You got me. I like that one. That's a good one. Okay, Ian, draws us to a close on a nice bit of humour as well. I've enjoyed the conversation. I'm looking forward to meeting you at the event and further conversations in the future as well.
Good. Tom, thank you so much for the chat. Really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello again, I am Mr. Purple. Thanks again for watching this video. If you like my videos, if you like what we try to do here, please subscribe if you haven't done it already. The other thing that's very popular right now is the t-shirts, the Mr. Purple t-shirts. There's lots of people wearing these at the moment. You can grab yours on our website, copying this link below. So once again, thanks for listening. We love your feedback. Engage with us and speak soon.